It was a dreary autumn evening in the small coastal town of Eldridge, where the rain fell in relentless sheets, turning the cobblestone streets into glistening rivers. Evan Harlow, a 32-year-old architect who had recently moved there to escape the chaos of city life, ducked under the awning of an old bookstore named Whispers and Pages. The shop's faded sign creaked in the wind, and the scent of aged paper mingled with the damp earth. He had come seeking solace in a forgotten novel, something to drown out the loneliness that had plagued him since his last breakup. As he shook the rain from his coat, a young woman emerged from the doorway, her umbrella blooming open like a black flower. She was Mia Ellis, with raven hair cascading in loose waves, emerald eyes that sparkled even in the gloom, and a smile that seemed to pierce through the storm. "You look like you could use this more than I can," she said, offering him the umbrella with a gentle laugh. Their hands brushed, and in that instant, Evan felt a warmth he hadn't known in years. She introduced herself, chatting effortlessly about the bookstore's hidden gems, and before he knew it, they were sharing a coffee at the cafe next door, the rain pattering against the windows like a distant applause. From that first encounter, Mia treated Evan with a level of care that bordered on the divine. She remembered the smallest details: his preference for black coffee with a hint of cinnamon, the way he fiddled with his watch when anxious, even the names of his childhood pets from stories he'd shared in passing. She cooked elaborate meals: roasted lamb with herbs from her garden, fresh bread that filled his modest apartment with comforting aromas. Small gifts appeared on his doorstep: a vintage fountain pen because he'd mentioned loving to sketch, a scarf knitted in his favorite shade of blue. It was as if she had stepped out of a dream, anticipating his needs before he voiced them. But as weeks turned into months, the perfection began to unravel at the edges. Evan noticed peculiarities that he initially dismissed as coincidences. Mia always seemed to know where he was, even on days he deviated from his routine. Once, after a spontaneous detour to a cliffside overlook to clear his mind, he found her waiting at the trailhead with a picnic basket. "I had a feeling you'd come here," she said, with a wink, but her eyes held a flicker of something unreadable, possessive, almost hungry. Then there were the silent appearances. Evan would be alone in his office, buried in blueprints, when he'd sense a presence. Turning, he'd find Mia standing in the doorway, her footsteps impossibly quiet on the creaky wooden floors. "How did you get in?" he'd ask, half laughing, and she'd reply, "The door was unlocked," though he swore he'd bolted it. At night, as he drifted to sleep in her arms, he'd feel a gentle hand brushing through his hair, soothing him into dreams. It became a ritual, one he cherished, until one fateful evening. Evan had awakened from a nightmare, his heart pounding, to find the bed empty beside him. Mia had stepped out to the kitchen for water, or so he thought, but the brushing continued, soft fingers trailing across his scalp. He froze, eyes wide in the darkness, as the touch persisted. It wasn't Mia. The hand felt colder, more insistent, like shadows given form. He bolted upright, flipping on the lamp, but the room was empty. Just the curtains swaying in a breeze from a window he hadn't opened. The unease gnawed at him, growing with each passing day. Mia's affection deepened, but so did the oddities. Objects in his apartment rearranged themselves overnight, books alphabetized in a system only she knew, his clothes folded with meticulous care. Friends commented on how lucky he was, but Evan began to feel trapped in a web of kindness that felt increasingly like surveillance. He started testing her, leaving out false details about his plans, only to have her reference them later as if they'd been true. One stormy night, much like the one they'd met, Evan decided to confront her. They were in his living room, the fireplace crackling as rain lashed the windows. Mia had prepared a candlelit dinner, her face illuminated by the soft glow, looking more beautiful than ever. But Evan couldn't shake the chill. "Mia," he began, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands, "how do you always know where I am? It's like you're following me." Her fork paused midair, and for the first time, her composure cracked. Tears welled in her eyes as she set down her utensils. "Evan, I didn't want to tell you like this." She took a deep breath, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I'm not the only one who loves you. Something else has been with you since that night at the bookstore. It saw us together and it couldn't bear it. It took my shape because it wanted what I had. It wanted you."
Evan stared, his mind reeling. "What are you talking about? That's insane." Mia shook her head, sobbing now. "It's a shadow, an entity. I don't know what to call it. It latched onto you that evening. Maybe it was always there, waiting in the rain, in the dark corners of this town. Eldridge has old stories, whispers of things that mimic love to feed on it. It brushes your hair at night, watches over you when I'm not there. It thinks it's protecting you from me." He laughed, a hollow sound, but the laughter died as memories flooded back. The cold touches, the silent arrivals, the inexplicable knowledge. "Prove it," he demanded, his voice rising. "Show me." Mia stood, wiping her tears, and led him to the mirror in the hallway. "Look," she said, standing beside him. Their reflections stared back, Evan disheveled, Mia poised. But then, in the corner of the glass, a flicker. Another Mia. Identical, yet not. Her eyes were voids, her smile a twisted echo. Evan spun around, but the room was empty. When he turned back, the shadow was gone. Panic surged through him. He grabbed his coat and fled into the night, the rain soaking him instantly. Mia called after him, her voice lost in the wind. He ran to the bookstore, the place where it all began, hoping distance would sever whatever bond had formed. But as he huddled under the awning, gasping for breath, a figure approached through the downpour. It was Mia. Or was it? She extended an umbrella, just like before, but her eyes held that same hungry glint. "Evan," she whispered, her voice a caress that sent shivers down his spine. "She cared for you, but I will never let you go." He backed away, heart hammering, but she, or it, followed, matching his every step without effort. From that moment, the duality haunted him. The real Mia would appear during the day, her love genuine and warm, cooking meals and sharing laughs. But at night, the shadow version crept in, brushing his hair with icy fingers, whispering promises of eternal devotion in a voice that echoed like wind through cracks. Evan tried everything to escape. He moved apartments, but both Mias found him. He sought help from locals who shared tales of Eldridge's cursed history, a town built on ancient grounds where spirits of unrequited love lingered, mimicking the living to claim what they desired. A priest blessed his home, but the shadow only laughed, its form flickering in the holy water's reflection. As days blurred into weeks, Evan lost the ability to distinguish between them. Was the Mia who kissed him passionately the real one, or the entity wearing her skin? The loving gestures intertwined with terror, a gift left on his pillow one morning, a cold hand gripping his wrist the next night. He stopped sleeping, his eyes hollowed by paranoia. Friends drifted away, unnerved by his ravings. One final evening, Evan sat alone in his dimly lit room, staring at the door. It creaked open, and Mia entered, both of them, side by side. The real Mia, tears streaming, reached out. "Evan, we can fight this together." The shadow Mia mirrored her, but her touch was a vice. "She thinks she can save you, but I've been with you longer. I am your forever." In desperation, Evan embraced them both, unable to tell which was which. The room filled with whispers, a cacophony of love and possession. As the rain pounded outside, he realized the truth. He was holding neither and both. The shadows had won, weaving him into their internal dance. And in Eldridge, where rain never truly stopped, Evan Harlow faded into the legend, a man loved too deeply by something that refused to let go.